I'm not for everyone. I'm hardly what you would say vanilla. I am like so many different shades and so many different colors. And that means I'm not going to be for everybody. But I think having a point of view as a strong female, particularly on a show like this, that, when we're selling high end real estate in Los Angeles, there needed to be a woman with as much dedication, commitment, and attitude, shall I say, to stand next to the two other guys on the show.
I love it. And so, I always say I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but hopefully I'm somebody's shot of tequila. Uh,
I've never related to anything more. That is so true.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's Glennda's Guru. I am so excited to have Tracy Tutor on this week's episode. I've got so many questions for her. We've never met in real life, and
No,
I just
we just chatted on the phone and on social and on text.
we have, and I have to tell you, I'm such a huge fan. I'm a little fangirling. I'm a little nervous, but
Stop it.
I mean, hello, it's you.
You're a legend, please.
So Tracy, tell me, like, do you love real estate? Like, how long have you been doing it? What is it about it that you love? What are you excited about?
Over 24 years, or just over 23 years, approaching 24 years. And there are years I don't love it. you know, the last couple of years have been rough, particularly in California. There's just been a lot of new measures that have been put into place that are affecting the luxury market, which is where I mostly operate. So it's been challenging, but as they say in real estate, if you can't figure out how to pivot, then you're not going to make it. You're not going to last. So it's been almost 24 years of getting it right, then pivoting, then getting it right, then pivoting. So, I think that's what keeps it exciting, and that's why I do love it 90% of the time.
Well, I think that like anything, it's not perfect, but for me, it doesn't really even feel like a job. To me, it's just so much fun, and the challenge of it is so interesting. And I think that with everything that has changed, that really kind of it brings to light that people really do need us, especially in your market, in the product that you sell, in the location that you sell it. I can't imagine somebody trying to do real estate without you.
Well, it's always going to be shifting. And as we sort of get further and further along, technologically speaking, and obviously buyers have access to property sort of without the help of someone like you or I, it just becomes that much more challenging to show what our true value is. And for me, particularly in California, it's such a litigious state. And, the way that we do business in this state is we're sort of, unlike New York, for example, we're a part of the process from pre-listing to contract to escrow to inspections, title to close. So we're involved every step of the way. And what I think some people have realized when they've tried to operate on their own or go direct to the list agent, that if they don't have someone in place sort of representing the little niche areas that require support from an agent and a professional, like, for example, once you go into contract and in California, we do anywhere from 9 to 12 different inspections. So when I have a listing
Wow.
and we enter contract, I tell my clients, this is just the beginning. I'm not congratulating you yet. Let's get through inspections, and particularly homes that are not new construction. We'll do everything from a general inspection, HVAC, sewer, drainage, foundation, roof, pool, you name, and mold. So, we can have, I had a $2.5 million deal that just had a $200,000 request for repair. So it can get really challenging to do that without proper representation. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. And you've got things like Zillow and Redfin and Trulia, and I think particularly buyers being savvy and wanting to say, I think I could save on commission here if I just go direct to the list agent and ask them to throw me back 2.5%. Well, that doesn't work either, because their fiduciary duty is always going to be to the seller. So they're not representing your best interest at all. And particularly not if they're not getting, paid a commission to do so. So our value is more needed than ever. And I think particularly now, as deals become more complicated and markets go up and down and shift, we have to be that much more present for, the beginning of the deal all the way through to the end.
I love that. Oh my stars. I love that like you cannot believe. You articulated perfectly the value of a real estate agent today. And I think that the real estate, the need and necessity for real estate agents has evolved over the years, where used to it was the information and the access, to where now really it is a specialty, almost like an attorney. You're not going to use, a medical malpractice attorney for family law. And I think it's very similar with real estate. You need somebody who specializes in that product in that area and knows what pitfalls you may fall into when buying or selling. So I love, love, love that. So I got to ask you a question, and we didn't talk about this, but $1 million listing. I remember the first time that I ever really was exposed to you, I was so excited to see that female, that strong woman, that strong female real estate agent, because for so long, I felt like it had just been so bro culture. And I love seeing you come in and really, bring the reality of the female perspective to real estate. And to me, I think the majority of amazing real estate agents are women. And it's always so crazy to me that the majority of these shows are filled up with men. So just how did it feel to like walk into an established show and be, the minority or the odd person out kind of?
It was an honor. The show had obviously been on for 9 seasons. I joined in the 10th, and there were multiple franchises at that point. They had done the New York franchise. There was a short Florida franchise, and then also in San Francisco. So to be the first female on a show and then not get kicked off after the first year was a feat in and of itself, right? I mean, I definitely have a perspective. I have a really strong perspective as a female in the industry, and I'd been in real estate, for 17ish years when I started the show. So I didn't come without experience or a track record. I think being welcomed into sort of that universe on that show as a female was a little bit of a tough transition for the audience, but I think ultimately, staying grounded, staying on the show, despite what I had been through personally in my first season, going through a divorce, limited, access in terms of, what I was allowed to do on the show as far as having my children involved. It was difficult, but I stayed in it and I fought through it. And ultimately, I think the women who are the audience of that show, good, bad, or ugly, have now sort of accepted me as a fixture there. And that's been wonderful because I think initially, I'm not for everyone. I'm hardly what you would say vanilla. I am like so many different shades and so many different colors. And that means I'm not going to be for everybody. But I think having a point of view as a strong female, particularly on a show like this, that, when we're selling high-end real estate in Los Angeles, there needed to be a woman with as much dedication, commitment, and attitude, shall I say, to stand next to the two other guys on the show.
I love it. And so, I always say I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but hopefully I'm somebody's shot of tequila.
I've never related to anything more. That is so true.
So what are you working on now? What are you excited about? What would you tell the Tracy on day one? Like knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell yourself 23 years ago?
You know, I say this to a lot of new agents coming into the business. Work for someone that you admire when you come into the business, who's got that experience, who has that footwork in the area that you want to be in, because I didn't do that. I came in thinking I've got relationships. I grew up here. I should have some credibility just from, understanding high-end real estate, and I couldn't have been more wrong. And eventually I ended up joining a team, and, it turned my business around completely. But I think, spending 2 to 3 years working for someone that's doing the business in the area that you want to work in is a great way for you to climb that ladder faster. I completely thought I could do it on my own, and boy, was I wrong. So I'm grateful for, now being in a position where I can mentor, different young men and women in the field, but also, take 3 to 4 years off that growth of, trying to do it on your own. It's tough. I mean, there's so many good real estate agents out there, but 10%
Yeah.
of the agents are doing 90% of the business. So how do you break into that top 10%? It's by working for someone in the top 10%.
Right. I think it's literally like an intern. It's literally like, on the job training when you work for somebody who is working in the area in the price range with the product that you want to work with. I think that is no need to reinvent the wheel. That's the easiest
Yeah,
shortcut of the business.
I couldn't agree more. And I also think that so many people get into this business, maybe not initially wanting to be in real estate, but going, oh, I'm kind of in sales. I could be good at this piece, or I do love homes and I come from a background in marketing. There's so many different avenues that can take us all down the road of becoming a successful real estate agent. But what I think a lot of people don't recognize is people think it's, flexible. Not flexible. There's no flex. It's, is day in, day out grind. No day is the same. You have to be militantly organized. You have to be on top of, because I have a lot of new agents that, sort of come to me and like, what could I be doing differently? And it's like, you got to have every hour blocked, because if you don't and you're waiting for the phone to ring, it's like, TikTok, it's 12, 1, 2 p.m. and, you still haven't received your first lead or a call back from any of the people you reached out to from the weekend before. And it's like scheduling and being on top of it in terms of, when you're new, is such a huge piece of creating systems and creating, you know, a schedule for yourself that actually gives you something to do during the day. Otherwise, you're just walking around blindly waiting to meet the next lead, and that's not the right way to go about it.
No, that's not the right way to go about it. I love that.
How many
So,
hours how many hours do you work a week in this business?
do you know what? You never ever work and you're working all the time. I mean, that's the thing is like you go to a cocktail party. What's the first thing anybody asks you? How's the market? I
Yeah.
mean, and you think that you're there to have a cocktail party. You go to dinner and it
Mhm.
never ever fails. How's the market? What have you got coming? What is it that you have that nobody else has? Tell me, because I've got to have something. I
Right.
mean, and that's the thing is like people are like, oh, well, she doesn't do anything. She goes out to dinner with her friends. I remember when my son was in fourth grade, they asked him, does your mother work? And he goes, no, she talks on the phone all the time and sells houses to her friends. And, I mean, it was great because he always saw me having fun, and it was. And that's what I did was I talked on the phone and sold houses to my friends. But you're never working and you're working all of the time. But,
All the
I think that's why it's important to love what you do.
Absolutely. And I think what makes it easy for me is I get to work with a lot of interesting different people, and so no day is ever the same. So I don't ever feel like it's monotonous, like ever. Every day, or just when I think I know it all, I learn something new, or a client throws me something that I'm like, I've never heard of this before 24 years later. So that's what makes it, I think, more fun is, you never stop growing, you never stop learning, and I never stop reaching for a bigger number, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're in an industry that truly is limitless in terms of what we can achieve monetarily for ourselves and for our families. I never thought in a million years when I got into this business that I would make seven figures ever, much less, two times, three times, four times over.
What is the biggest house you've sold?
To date, $57 million in on the west side of Los Angeles.
And 24 years ago, could you imagine selling a $57 million house?
No,
Yeah.
no.
No.
I just, again, I've always had big dreams, always had aspirations, and I always had the bug to sell. I mean, I got my first job at 15 selling suits in the mall and I got a commission job.
Me
So,
too.
stop it.
I sold ladies' shoes. I made 7% commission. I was the number one salesperson in the shoe department, and I worked part-time Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
I'm dead. I could not get a job at like one of the cute girls clothing stores. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember like Wet Seal or Contempo Casuals, but all my friends got like 50% off, 60% off. And I couldn't, those spots were filled. So I went to the suit store and ultimately ended up making way more money. And I just loved the idea. If I sold 5 suits, I get an extra $150, at the end of the pay. Like, it was awesome. And that was my first foray into sales. So, and I was an actor as well. I was in theater school, in college, and I grew up doing that as well. So I definitely had like that bug. I just never knew that I would be able to navigate a business in real estate and sell, $300 million a year. And now here we are.
That's crazy. I love it. I love it. Tracy, thank you so much. Thank you for spending some time with me. They say that people's most valuable asset is their time and their attention. And thank you so much for giving me a piece of yours. I'm so thankful. And again, I'm a little bit thrown off because I just, like, never in my life did I ever think that I would have your cell phone number or ever get to talk to you in my
I
life.
reached
So
out to you, and we were connected through a mutual friend, and it was such a like I picked up. I mean, you're doing so many incredible things in terms of educating your audience online, and you're really really good at what you do. So you're my go-to call for Atlanta, no
thank
doubt about
you.
it. You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Now, where can they find you?
On Instagram at Tracy Tutor. We're launching my new website that we're really excited about, where you guys can reach out to us personally and set up a time to talk about buying or selling. And that's www.tracytutor.com, and all the other things. TikTok, which I'm trying to get better at. Also, Tracy Tutor, you're very good at the TikTok.
I love a little TikTok like nobody's business. That is
You're
for
so
sure.
good at it, honey.
There's so much opportunity there. So let's chat about that. Give me 1 second. Don't you dare hang up yet. I want to talk to you once I press stop recording, okay?
Yeah.